Hi, this is Alfozia Nihar from At Home Tuition. Welcome to our session today. The topic that we are going to discuss in our today's video is Slope-Intercept Form. In mathematics, we often deal with the graphs. In graphs, we can see many lines. So those lines are denoted by the equation of lines. Am I right? Lines are commonly written in what's called Slope-Intercept Form. When an equation for a line is written in this form, it is easy for us to see what the slope of the line is and what the y-intercept is. So hence we get the name slope-intercept form. So first let us discuss what is meant by a slope, intercept and what is slope-intercept form. For more details about the slope, you can refer our previous video. So let us start with a slope. Slope is nothing but a number that will help us to measure the steepness and direction of the line. It is nothing but the ratio of the vertical change of the graph to the horizontal change. We often refer to slope as rise over run. Am I right? Okay. For example, let us take some slope. Slope of a line be 1 over 2. So what does that mean? It means the graph goes up 1 unit for every 2 units that is goes over. The slope of a line also tells us about the direction of the line. We can tell whether the line goes up to the right, down to the right, or if it is a horizontal one or a vertical one. I'll show you the types of the slope. Positive slope, negative slope. If it is this horizontal one, it is a zero slope. A vertical one, an undefined one. So this is all about the slope. Now let us see what is meant by an intercept. Now let us see what is an intercept. There are two axes on a coordinate plane, x and y. Am I right? The x-axis and the y-axis. When a line crosses one of these axes, the point where it crosses is called an intercept. If it touches the x-axis, we call it as x-intercept. If it touches the y-axis, we call it as y-intercept. In slope-intercept form, the equation of the line uses only the y-intercept. So this is where the line crosses the y-axis. Please remember that the y-axis is the vertical axis that goes up and down. The y-intercept is the point where the line and y-axis meet. This graph line and the y-axis meet at this point. So this would be your y-intercept. Now let us see what is meant by slope-intercept form. There are a few different ways to write the equation of line. One of the most common ways, standard one, is called slope-intercept form. It is called this because it clearly defines what the slope is and y-intercepts in the equation. The slope is just a number written before the x. This coefficient of x is called the slope, and y-intercept is the constant written at the end. This one. So the y-intercept here is 0, b. Now let's look at a few examples of equations in slope-intercept form. Here is an example, y equal to 3x plus 2. When an equation of line is written in slope-intercept form, the number in front of the x will represent the slope. So here in this equation, there is a coefficient 3 here. Am I right? 3 in front of the x. So this means the slope of the line is 3. The constant written at the end will represent the y-intercept. So there is a positive 2 at the end. So this means the y-intercept here is 2. So if you are asked to write the y-intercept as an ordered pair, it would be written as 0, 2. Am I right? If x coordinate is 0, then we will be saying that that would be the y-intercept. Am I right? Remember that the y-intercept is where the graph crosses the y-axis. The x coordinate of every point on the y-axis is always 0. So the y-intercept is always 0, b. So here 3 is the slope and 2 is the y-intercept. Let me show you the graph of this line. The y-intercept here is 2. This means it should cross the y-axis 2 units up from the origin. And we also know the slope is positive 3. So whenever the slope is positive, the line will go up to the right. Am I right? So 3 is same as 3 over 1. It means it should go 3 units up and over to the right 1 unit. So please remember that slope is nothing but rise over run. We will be using this again and again. Here is the graph. Please look at the line. It touches the y-axis at 2. So y-intercept is 2. I have plotted it here. And the slope should be 3. 3 or 3 over 1. Both are same, no? 3 divided by 1 is 3. So 3. It is being raised to 3 units. 1, 2, 3. And run for 1 unit. So 3 over 1. Though this is how we calculate the slope, no? So the slope should be 3 and the y-intercept should be 2. This is how we write the equation. We graph the equation in this way. Here is the next example. Please have a glance over this equation. When an equation is in slope-intercept form, the slope is the number in front of the x. So this means the slope here is 1 over 4. A line with a slope of 1 over 4 will go up 1 units and over to the right 4 units. Am I right? Then the y-intercept is the constant at the end. Please pay close attention to the sign of the y-intercept. This equation has a minus sign. Am I right? The y-intercept here is -1. This means the line crosses the y-axis at the point 0, -1. So please be careful with the signs given in the equation. It is pretty straightforward to graph this line. The y-intercept here is -1, so it crosses 1 unit down from the origin. Am I right? And the slope is a positive 1 over 4. So it will go up 1 unit and over 4 units to the right. Here is the general form of the equation. So far we were discussing the standard form. This is the general form. Ax plus by equal to c. Both x and y will be on the left side and the constant will be isolated on the right side. In case if you're getting any question like this, it is also very easy to find the slope and y-intercept. All you have to do is solve the equation for y. I mean isolate y on the left side and shift all the other terms to the right side of the equation by doing the opposite operations, though that we generally do in algebra. And then identify the coefficient of x and the constant. So that would be your slope and the y-intercept. Let me take one example and explain you how to find the slope and intercept, which is given in the general form. Here is an example. Okay, I'm going to shift x term to the other side. Subtract 2x from both the sides. Hope you're clear so far? I have just kept this positive 8 here and written this negative 2x as a first term. Now divide the entire equation throughout by -5 so that I can get rid of this -5 from the coefficients place and isolate y on the left side. So -5 is the common denominator. I'm going to write it separately for each of the term in the numerator. So -2x over -5 plus 8 over -5. Please be a bit more careful with these signs. You have to apply the rules of signs here. -2x, -5. Negative over negative will give you a positive 1. Positive over negative will give you a -1. So 2 over 5x and minus 8 over 5. So slope here is 2 over 5, a positive 1, positive slope, and the y-intercept is -8 over 5. In case if you are going to graph this, you can also convert the fraction into decimals. So that would be easy for you to graph. Hope you are clear with this example. So in contrast with both the general form and the standard form of the lines equation, the slope-intercept form of the equation will provide us a unique representation of the line. Because when two lines have either a different slope or a different y-intercept, they really are two different lines. So in other words, if two equations in the slope-intercept form have different coefficients, they do represent different lines. There are a number of ways to write lines because we use lines so much and they are so important in application. So you must make yourself comfortable with all of these forms. The first one is the slope-intercept form. Graphing the slope-intercept form is very easy. All you have to do is rewrite the given equation in this form. That is isolating y on the left side and shifting all the other terms to the right side. You can easily find what is the slope and the y-intercept. When you have the equation of a straight line, you can always do quick and easy graphing just by starting with the y-intercept value. First find the y-intercept value and then plot other points by using the slope value. So in real life this may not work so well, but problem wise you can easily do this. In simple English we can say that B is our starting point and X is the change we intend to make, and M, the slope, is nothing but the rate of change or the percentage of change we actually see. You can also write the 2 points in slope-intercept form. For example, if you have 2 pairs of points, you can use slope formula to find the M value, and then you can pick the formula and find the y-intercept also, or you can just graph it to find the y-intercept and plug in those values here and write it in the slope-intercept form. That is also very simple. According to graphing, it is super easy to graph this form, slope-intercept form, instead general form, because the pieces will be very clear, the slope and the y-intercept. Y is a dependent variable here and x is the independent variable and m is the constant. Okay. B is an adjustment that moves the function away from the origin or not. And in more general straight line equation, x and y coordinates, these are very helpful. So we must know that any line can be written in slope-intercept form. You can frame your own example. Just by changing the values of m and b, we can define any straight line. So that's how powerful and versatile the slope-intercept form is. Hope you're clear with slope-intercept form now. Hope you got an idea on that. In case if you get any query regarding this, kindly let me know.